Hi and welcome to our new Geeknson Friends series on our YouTube channel. In this series we're going to be talking to our friends that we've made in the industry across the last 10 years since Martin and Luke started the company. In this, our first episode, I'm going to be talking to Scott Ismail from Paladin Woodworking. You may know Scott as the man who made the famous Durin's anvil table that went viral a few years ago. We teamed up with Scott a few weeks ago to start bringing this table to life so that you can all have a chance to buy one yourselves. So let's get to know Scott a little bit better and the table. So welcome, Scott Ismail.
How you doing today?
Yeah, fine, thank you. How you doing?
I'm great. As you know, we just got back from a trip to Europe, so I'm still catching up on my sleep, but it was fun, but it's good to be back.
And I saw you managed to visit some of the Tolkien landmarks and stuff.
I did. This was kind of a 20th anniversary trip for us, but I managed to fit in a day at Oxford because my wife knows, one of my bucket list items was to visit kind of the steps where Tolkien visited and pay respects at his grave and see some of the sites. So that was very neat for me. Yeah.
Wow, cool. Yeah, I saw the stuff on the Instagram channel, on your Instagram. Yeah, cool. Yeah. So what I wanted to do, if it's okay, is have a little bit of chat about you, a bit about your background and stuff, how you got into woodworking, gaming, everything, and then a bit more about the table. So I wonder first if you could tell us a bit about your kind of gaming background, how you got into that, what you're into and stuff.
So yeah, I started. I'm probably older than a lot of your viewers, but I started playing D&D back in like middle school with some friends, and we played for a few years through high school and took a break. And then I met some of my buddies in college actually had played growing up, and this was back in the advanced Dungeons and Dragons time. So we played a little bit through college and just loved it. Had a lot of laughs, a lot of fun. After that, life gets busy with work and family and kids, and I didn't play for at least 20, 25 years. And I think with the resurgence at the time of Critical Role taking off and all these new people getting in the hobby and 5e being, really popular, I got back into it a few years ago. And, I know a lot of people play all kinds of different games. My experience is it's strictly with D&D, but it's been so good to get back into it.
Cool, brilliant. And so then the other side of it is your woodworking stuff. So tell us a bit about that. Is that your full-time job as a woodworker, or how does that fit in?
I wish it were, but no, it's really been kind of a lifelong hobby that's developed over the last few years into kind of a small side business. But my day job is I sell diagnostic imaging equipment. Actually, I sell big things like CAT scanners and MRIs. But in my spare time on the weekends and so forth, I do a lot of woodworking. And it's for me, it's like a creative outlet. I wish I was born and I could take a pencil and create a beautiful painting or a drawing. I don't have those skills, but I do have an engineering background, and if I take enough time, I can usually come up with something kind of fun in the woodworking shop. So that's what it is for me.
Brilliant. And so then, when did you start kind of linking up the woodworking and the gaming stuff? Did you at the beginning, were you making kind of figurines, or did you go straight into like, I can use this to help your gaming experience?
Well, when I got back into D&D, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I was playing a campaign at a friend's house, and very simple setup like most of us play on. And then at some point, my wife gave me the great news that this bonus room, kind of we call here in the States, it's a room over the garage, I could do with what I want. So it was kind of a man cave. And at that point, I just learned about a lot of the gaming tables, like tables like your, Henry and Megan, and like the Wormwood Prophecy, and tables like with a vault in it. And that to me was a new concept. Like, oh, that's really cool. You can put terrain in there, you can cover it up, it can be a multifunction. And that really got the wheels turning. I said, I've got a brand new space for myself. I'm enjoying playing D&D. I want to make myself my own game table. And that's really what kind of started it all.
So you started with you went straight into like something big like the gaming table, or?
Yeah. That was my first gaming related item that I made. Okay. And it was about an 8-month process. From probably half of that was design on the computer. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out, what I wanted, what functionality I wanted, and then it was another 4 months of kind of building it in place because I have a workshop in my basement, and it was kind of cutting wood down there, bringing it up, assembling it, test fitting. I'm not professional quite enough to plan it so that I can actually take it apart and move it easily. So it was kind of built in place, but that was the process. Yeah.
And so these like the skills that you're using to make that you made to use the table, like so you started straight out with that table. Where did you learn all that stuff?
So I have a degree in mechanical engineering, and I've always kind of been interested in CAD and design and what you can design on the computer. For me, it's just a great visual tool. I'm not an expert in it, but I'm good enough to kind of get by and to run like a lot of different scenarios and kind of measure everything virtually and see if all the dimensions are going to work with the human body and so forth and what I was looking for. So I've been doing that a long time, and this was kind of one of the first big projects really that I was able to kind of translate that into a piece of furniture.
Yeah, okay. And so the techniques on the woodworking side, like on making the joints and bits and bobs, because I played around at this a little while ago, maybe about 7 years ago. Basic stuff. I just got into kind of like planing things, like sharpening the planes and stuff. Got really into like the art, like the whole art of making that really kind of sharp, and so you can get real nice surface on in that. But it was incredibly difficult. And so when I look at your table, I'm thinking, man, that must have like taken some doing from the design point of view, like you're talking about from the engineering background with just how to make it. But the skills of doing all the joints and bits and bobs, that's something you picked up over the years, or how did that come about?
But it's also a reason I'm setting up the camera pretty far away, because if we get too close, the joints maybe aren't quite as professional as I'd like them. But that's also why that's why I'm partnering with Geeknson, because I actually need real woodworkers who know how to do this stuff professionally. So I'm trusting the guys in your shop are going to make it look that much better when it happens.
Yeah, oh, cool. Yeah, because it's not me that makes the tables, like, as long as everybody knows that. Yeah, cool. Okay, brilliant. So then you're able to put it all together and do that. And then I know we'll talk a bit in a little bit more about the table in a minute. And then because I know you also make some accessories and bits. So to go onto the table, you've got accessories just for that table, and some other bits and bobs you've done before as well. Maybe you could tell us a bit about those.
Yeah. So after we can talk about after this kind of took off and I got a little bit of, I guess you could say, notoriety, as silly as that sounds. It was just fun to design stuff for gaming, and I was looking for other things I could make for D&D. I kind of like, there's some great tools like D&D Beyond and some of the electronic stuff, and those are awesome and they have great utility. But I was also looking to make something that's kind of more tactile, that you can really hold in your hand and feel. And I came up with a tracking system that's based on tiles, and I've got 30 of them, where you can kind of track your character during the game using magnets, using dials, and so forth. So if you're tracking hit points and spell slots and all the things that change during a session, instead of writing and erasing on a character sheet, for example, I want to make something that was wooden. I did another series, and one per class. So here's like a rogue one. I've got Rangers. I got almost all the classes too. So it's kind of this tracking series is some of the stuff that I was working on. And I guess the other one that I really kind of liked was I came out with, for what I think is the world's first random attack tower. So the Dungeon Master can drop a die in the top, and it'll come out of one of 6 random slots at the bottom. So If the Dungeon Master doesn't want to really determine who gets attacked, he can kind of leave it up to the gods and drop the die, and then every player has their own door at the bottom. And so just kind of fun stuff like that adds a little bit of drama to the table. Those are the kind of things I've been working on. Wow,
cool. And so your Paladin's Woodworking, this kind of like your whole the website and stuff. What came first with that? Was that the table that led to that, or you already had that going?
It's funny because I was playing that first campaign after a 20-year break or whatever, and I was playing a Paladin at the time, and I was just having so much fun. I love the class; it's my favorite class. And when I started, I said, I need kind of a name for what I'm doing, and just to come up with a little catchphrase for my woodworking projects, and that led to Paladin Woodworking, just because it was my favorite at the time, and it's kind of stuck and taken off a little bit since then.
Okay, Scott. So coming back to the table, we talked about your D&D background and stuff. So it's got loads of stuff going on in there that we've already given the table to our team, so they've been going into your CAD files and all the rest of it and seeing all the bits and bobs that are involved, and we've been trying to get our heads around what we're going to keep in as a basic component to the table, what are going to be add-ons and all this kind of stuff. Some people have been joining in with subscribing and sending in their comments on that as well, which has been really interesting. So on this as well, if people can leave some comments on that, we're still in the design phase and working these bits out. But for anyone that doesn't know too much about your table, maybe you can take us through some of the kind of main features that have really improved your kind of your gaming night, basically. Yeah,
sure. So I've played on everything from, a 4x8 sheet of plywood with a sheet over it. That was our gaming table, to, a more traditional rectangular table with a vault. And for me, I wanted to design something that maybe wasn't as flexible, maybe wasn't as convenient as a traditional table, maybe something that isn't going to, instantly turn into a dining room table, for instance, but something that really is focused on RPGs, D&D in particular. And some of the considerations there were, I love the idea of a sunken vault like you guys have on all your tables. It's so helpful. But I got to thinking, what if the dungeon master could have a table with 3 or 4 complete dungeon levels pre-assembled in the table? So as the session's going on, the characters find a trap door and they open it up and it leads down to another, a sewer level. And then from there, they're down to a dungeon. And then from there down to a cave level, for instance. And with a push of a button, the dungeon master could lift that up. So you play that level, you find the way down, you just lift it off and remove it, push the button, and the new level is already right there. I thought that was something that would really blow away. As a player, it would blow me away if that was already there, instead of, all right, guys, I need.
That's when we played that video, and I showed some of the guys in the warehouse and stuff. They were like, "What's that?" They'd seen it on Instagram, and I said, "What on earth is that?" I said, "It's a table for this." And they're like, and I was like, "Yeah, it looks really cool, but I don't understand." But yeah, straight away people just love the fact that this thing's moving up and down. Cool.
So. From that perspective, I'm kind of a form follows function guy. So how do you make that so it works, right? Because that doesn't work on a typical table that's not very deep, right? A table normally is, a little bit deep. You need a lot of space. So that led me to a pedestal design. It's got to have a large circular base that can house all this. And of course, you got to figure out the motion and the linear actuators to move everything. But then I kind of brought in the Lord of the Rings stuff because I wanted to make my room Lord of the Rings themed. Passionate Tolkien fan my whole life, and I just the guy's work. Sorry, Terry, my screen went to sleep on me here, so let me just refresh that. Right. So from there, I really wanted to bring in the Tolkien theme because I'm a huge fan of his work, and I kind of want to make my game room a Tolkien theme space. So I'm also a huge fan of the dwarves, that race, what Peter Jackson did in the movie. I love the aesthetics of Khazad-dûm and Moria and the columns. It just, to me, it inspires me more than anything else. So I said, let me make a dwarven conference table, right? If there were dwarves standing around negotiating, arguing over something, what kind of table would they use, right? The movie doesn't really show furniture in Moria. So I was open to do whatever I wanted. But I thought, as a base, what if we used the column of one of, the huge stone columns you see in those iconic scenes in Moria? So that's what kind of got me started, and hopefully you can see in the background, the base is really made to look like stone in my case, like a stone column. It's got axes and hammers that go around it and a lot of the details you see in the movies. But functionally, that houses the mechanism to store all those levels, right? So that got me off and running. And then for a shape, I really like the idea of people sitting basically in a circle instead of a longer table where the DM is way at one side. I think it brings the party together. Everyone has an equal view of the playing surface. And I think it promotes people being more engaged. So I went with a hex, and from there it was details. It was, how do I make this feel Dwarven? And I, stole a lot of what the folks who made the movies, their aesthetic, I think was really fun.
Yeah. No, it's wicked. And that's so, I mean, we had a lot of people saying about the fact that it's a Lord of the Rings themed, which opened up for us like the possibility of having like people being able to have it as a custom table, because it's more than likely going to be one of our kind of custom made tables where people can just order what they like. It opens up the possibility to having it themed for any other what would you call it? Gamescape? What would you call it?
Fan base, or fictional world. I mean, it's interesting because, of course, I grew up in the States, so sci-fi to me is it was Star Wars and Star Trek. That's what I grew up with. But I know, like, folks in the UK, so many people immediately commented, "Oh, it looks like a TARDIS."
No, we had a few people that said that too. Yeah, on the emails they said so.
Yeah, and I knew of Doctor Who, but I never really watched it, so I had to look up what the TARDIS was. I didn't realize it had, so closely looked at that. But yeah, I mean, if you change the kind of the decorations on the table, it could be a sci-fi table, it could be a Doctor Who table, and of course there's licensing issues with all that stuff, and we would have to can't just put their symbols on there. But yeah, I think the table is flexible. It could be a lot of different things.
And so I saw that you've got so you've got that main centerpiece that raises, and then it kind of drops underneath there is kind of like more of a hidden area, like for a bit of, and you've got an accessory rail in there as well, kind of tucked under there. I saw some stuff under there. Can you tell us a bit about that?
So there's a magnetic rail that goes all along the kind of the top portion of the column, and I've got some accessories for, hold the stuff that you normally see, holding dice, and some of my tracking system kind of clicks into there to be held up vertically. I've got some small dice towers that click in there. You don't really need cup holders, because that's the other main thing that I wanted to kind of address. When you play for me at least, when I play D&D on a traditional table with a pretty narrow rail, there's kind of no place to put your books and your laptop, or you have a very small piece to work with, and then you buy accessories to lengthen that piece, so you have like a working surface. So this was designed so every player has a pretty good space where they can lay out character sheets, books, laptops. It's deep enough to hold all of that stuff. And then if you're not using it at the time, every player also has a shelf underneath. They can just kind of quickly store stuff, but it's at hand, but out of the way.
Yeah. Okay. Wicked.
And so with the engraving around the side there, you've got because we can see on your video, you can see the engraving on your bookshelves that you've got there.
Yeah.
That's the one we can see.
Yeah.
So the ones on the table as well, they've got LEDs linked to them. So the details there. So that's one thing we're thinking about, having those so people can, even if it's not themed, it could just be people's names. Do you know what I mean? Or symbols or whatever they might want there, kind of detail.
I came up with a technique that there's no way I invented it. Someone else must be doing it. But there's a way that I basically engrave the designs. You can engrave really fine designs and then fill those with epoxy and backlight them. And that's how everything is done here. So it's very smooth to the touch. It's got a very nice surface to work with, but the light flows through it beautifully. And just with a phone app, you can change the colors. You can do all kinds of stuff just to kind of make it fun.
Hey, and Scott, what height does your table stand at? Are you kind of sitting on kind of bar stool height there, or are you kind of, is it for standing or?
No, it's a good point. It's here in the US, it's considered countertop height, so it's taller than a regular table. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, I think aesthetically, the proportions worked out being taller. I wanted to make it as really a showpiece. I mean, it's a table, I think, that's got some real presence to it. When you see it the first time, you're kind of like, wow, it's a big table, right? But the height, I think if it was shorter, it would look weird, frankly. And the other thing is with the shelves underneath, I've got some countertop height stools, and everything fits. I'm kind of a big guy, but I can sit there with my legs underneath. They don't hit the column. There's nothing jamming your feet, and the shelves clear your legs, no problem. So.
Okay, cool. So that's like because that's what, like most of our tables that we do are functioned around this kind of gaming dining thing, you know. So like the one I'm sitting at here. Oh, this is a Megan table. So this is like a standard kind of dining night. So I can sit here and I could eat pretty comfortably and stuff. Your one's more, you know, then they can lean towards more to gaming stuff. So they're not so practical for sitting on every day to eat. You end up kind of going like this as the frame comes up. And then your one is more of an indulgent, pure gaming man cave table.
I think that's the way I would describe it. Yeah, I mean, it's you know, you're probably not going to have dinner with the family around it, although it would be fun. You could do it, but you know, it's probably not going to be in the dining room, basically. But at the same time, it can be, you know, I think it can be a poker table. You can do puzzles on it. You can do other games. But there's no doubt I made it with D&D in mind, and I tried to kind of focus it on that. And I think, you know, so we've been playing now for 3 years on it with 5 of my friends, and you know, it's worked out really well. So
we're going to be carrying on talking in the next few weeks to establish the design, where we're going to show the table first. And then maybe we can tie that in at some point with a guest appearance with you. And these are all going to be things like about the details.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've been looking for the right partner for this for a couple of years. I've had literally hundreds of people reach out and say, hey, where can we buy the table? Where is it for sale? And frankly, they see my website. It says Paladin Woodworking. I might fool them into thinking I'm actually a real company with like employees and stuff. So it's just not something I can support. So I'm so glad I found Geeknson, because I love that you guys sell in the UK, that you sell in Europe, that you already sell in the US. Things like trying to tackle delivery and setup for a small shop, it's overwhelming. So yeah. I'm excited that you guys are going to tackle this for me. And where it's at a show, I hope to be there. I kind of plan to be there. If our joint table is at a convention, I want to be there. I want to talk to people. I want to get their feedback and see what people think in person, because I've never had that opportunity. So
what we're going to do is people have already been signing up on our through our blog we've got going on our website. You can register. People can register there. Just their email address, so they can keep up to date. You've sent us some people as well that have kind of come through your Instagram and social media, so we can keep them up to date. Like I say, in the next few weeks we'll be establishing a few more dates, because at the minute we've kind of not really given too much information away. Like, we don't know too much ourselves. So once we've got the basic design worked out, once we've got what's going to be a basic table, what's going to be kind of added features, and what is going to be our first prototype, because that's going to be the first project, to get that done, get it to a show so people can see it. So we'll be telling about what that first show will be, and then its eventual trip to America, because that's going to have to happen, and so that you can do a little kind of show around it. So sign up, and everyone can keep up to date with that. And Scott will be posting stuff as well, so you can keep up to date with Scott's stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. So Paladin Woodworking Maine is my Instagram, and in my I don't know what you call it, on the main page there, I've got a link right to the Geeknson page where everyone can sign up to get on the mailing list and just keep up to date. And really appreciate everyone's interest, and I hope they really like the table and they see it in person.
Cool. All right, brilliant. Well, thanks a lot, Scott. Nice to talk to you, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, Terry. Talk to you later.
Thank you for watching the first episode of our new series of Geeknson Friends. We're going to be putting up some new content, so if you can press the subscribe button and the notification bell, then that'll let you know when we've got our new videos up. Cheers.